This is the Chamber Chat Podcast, the show dedicated to chamber professionals to spark ideas and to get actionable tips and strategies to better serve your members and community. Hello, Chamber Champions. Welcome to Chamber Chat Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Burton, and it's my goal here on the podcast to introduce you to people and ideas to better help you serve your chamber members and your community. Our title sponsor for this episode is Bringing Local Back. Remember when your community could turn to a local TV station or newspaper for the latest updates and affordable ads? Those days may be fading, but the need for local connection remains. That's why we created Bringing Local Back, a game-changing platform that restores local visibility and advertising power to your community. It's more than just tech. It's about driving engagement and creating new revenue for your chamber. Ready to see the future? Visit bringinglocalback.com to schedule your demo today. This is the future of local commerce. Our guest for this episode is Dale Kooyenga. Dale grew up as the oldest of four children in a blue-collar family. He played college basketball at Moraine Valley Community College, followed by Lakeland University. Following graduation from Lakeland University, Dale moved to Milwaukee and immediately fell in love with the Milwaukee community. Inspired by the events of September 11th, Dale joined the U.S. Army alongside two of his brothers. He attended a officer candidate school, followed by the Army's Military Intelligence Officer Training Program. Dale was assigned to the United States Army Civil Affairs Psychology Operations Command. In 2008, he was deployed to Iraq with the 432nd Civil Affairs Battalion as part of the Surge strategy led by General David Petraeus. Dale was awarded the Bronze Star for service in Iraq. In addition to his service in Iraq, Dale has served in military intelligence units attached to the Defense Intelligence Agency, two company commands, including command of Wisconsin's 1st Army Reserve Counterintelligence Unit, and overseas assignments with NATO allies in Europe and in South Korea. Dale currently holds the rank of Lieutenant Colonel and is the battalion commander for the 407th Army Reserve Civil Affairs Battalion. In his civilian career, Dale is the president at the Metropolitan Milwaukee Association of Commerce. The MMCA represents over 2,000 businesses, serving as the region's boardroom in pursuit of a globally competitive economy that fosters high-value jobs, sustains a vibrant quality of life for all. Dale is a certified public accountant and obtained his MBA from Marquette University. Prior to joining MMAC, Dale served 8 years as Wisconsin State Representative and then 4 years in the Wisconsin State Senate, where he developed a reputation as a hardworking, pragmatic problem solver who worked across party lines. Dale and his wife, Jennifer, have 4 children, their son, Grant, and 3 daughters, Taylor, Quinn, and Ada. Now, Dale, I'm excited to have you with us today here on Chamber Chat Podcast. First of all, thank you for your dedicated service, but welcome to the show. I'll give you a chance to say hello to all the Chamber Champions who are out there listening, and I'd love to give you a chance to share something interesting about yourself, maybe that we didn't cover, so we can all get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on the show, and hello to my fellow colleagues in the chamber world. This is a whole world I'd never thought of 3, 4 years ago. I do a lot of speaking with high schoolers, and we do a lot of programming as far as you can't be what you can't see. And knew associations existed, knew they had presidents and CEOs and all that stuff, but never thought of myself in that role up until about 2.5 years ago in the interview process. So great. I love it. It's amazing where life brings you. Love where I'm at. In regards to interesting things that people don't know about me, that's only to be revealed on your podcast. No one else knows besides the Kooyenga kids and some of their select friends, is I do a very mean, authentic Donald Duck impersonation.
All right.
I will
Very
not do
good.
it on
Very
podcast,
good.
but there is some interesting.
Those are one of those things that between father and the children, like grandchildren, something like that's something, a special bond that you'll have with
Yeah, I
them, is
can't
that Donald Duck
snap. It's a
voice.
weird thing. I can never be able to snap. I've
Yeah.
tried to be like, oh, it's so easy. Why didn't they try to teach you? I cannot snap, but somehow God gave me this ability to make Donald Duck noises. There you go.
Hey, that's got to be worth something.
It will never be on the resume, but there it is.
That's right. Well, give us some background about your chamber. Give us an idea of size, staff, scope of work, budget, just all of that to kind of set the stage for the perspective that you're coming from as we enter into our discussion today.
Well, I appreciate that because as we talk about how healthy and impactful the Metropolitan Milwaukee Association of Commerce is, I have to acknowledge is that I'm fully aware that I'm on third base. I did not hit a triple. It was primarily my predecessor before me, Tim Sheehy, who has been the president for 30 years, 31 years, and there for 40 years at the MMAC. So very, very appreciative for his leadership, the impacts he's had. Really has led a great chamber and also the community in general. So we've been around since 1861. So we have, just like a lot of associations, there's a bunch of, at the time, gentlemen who were upset with things going on in the community or just thought that there needed to be a change in some institutional guidance in addition to government and formed our association in downtown Milwaukee. We're now, we're Metro Milwaukee, but really more of a regional chamber in Southeast Wisconsin. And we do have aspects of our business, including a health insurance program and a food and beverage group, among other initiatives that are statewide in Wisconsin. So it's a very robust chamber. We do a lot of lobbying, primarily at the state level, to a lesser extent at the federal and local level. We, like any association, do events. We have a health insurance plan. We actually have a subsidiary doing Milwaukee Development Corp, which does real estate. And that's just a scratch the surface. So we're in a lot of different things and really making a big impact here in Milwaukee.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Um, I'm excited about our topic for discussion today, especially after going through your bio, the background that you have, the military service, the state, service, civil service, to be able to get your perspective as you entered the chamber world and what some of those first impressions were, how you adapted, and just the story around that. And we'll dive into that much deeper as soon as we get back from this quick break. Are you looking for a year-round, affordable, and timely shop local campaign for your chamber or CVB? Look no further. Build a custom Eat, Shop, Play mobile app with App My Community by visiting appmycommunity.com/chamberchat. App My Community mobile apps are not just simple membership directory listings. They provide many more capabilities to engage with your community. Provide your residents with a robust events calendar, partner with a local fair, festival, or farmers market to provide a schedule, map, and other resources to promote the event. Run a small business Saturday campaign any time of the year using built-in scavenger hunts. Allow your membership to communicate directly to their customers via push notifications. Your App My Community mobile app will be a unique member benefit, allow you to generate non-dues revenue with sponsorship opportunities, and best of all, provide a valuable resource to your community. Please visit appmycommunity.com/chamberchat now to receive 10% off your first year of an App My Community mobile app. Attention, all Chamber of Commerce leaders. Are you looking for a powerful tool to help you manage your chamber? Look no further than Chamber Nation. Their comprehensive platform provides all the features you need to streamline membership management, host events, communicate with your members, and provide amazing services to your members. Plus, their expert team is always available to provide personalized support. Don't miss out on this opportunity to take your chamber to the next level at a price you will truly appreciate. Visit richardscalendar.com to learn more about Chamber Nation today. All right, Dale, we're back. As I mentioned before the break, today we're going to be focusing our discussion primarily on what some of your first impressions were as you entered into the chamber world. Like you mentioned, you didn't even know this world existed to the level it does until you were in it. But just tell us from your background and the introductions you had in the chamber world, what were some of those first impressions and reactions that kind of introduced you into this space?
Well, my first interactions with the association was when I was in political office and they would come and lobby me. So it's funny when I was looking for jobs, I was interviewing. I actually had a couple positions already in mind where I knew the direction I wanted to go. And it was not a political direction. I didn't want to go. Politics was always something I did. It was never something I was. And so I didn't want to do something where I was clear in the political realm. So I remember our current chair, Austin Ramirez, who's CEO of Husco, which is a manufacturing company in the automotive space in here in the Milwaukee area. He called me up and said, "Hey, Tim Sheehy's not going to be around forever. We're looking for someone to be a position at MMAC and then transition into possibly his role someday. Would you be interested?" My reaction immediately, without even thinking about it, was no, I'm not. And the reason was because I thought of MAC as a lobbying organization, and I didn't want to be a lobbyist. I didn't want to have that be part of my post-political life. And I remember I hung up the phone that night. I'm a solid sleeper, but I woke up in the middle of the night and just thought about that very brief conversation. And I looked up MAC on the internet, and it just struck me, man, there's a lot more to this organization than what I saw on the receiving end of the lobbying. Economic development, the events, the business line activities that we provide to our members. And it really struck me as like, this is actually a perfect fit for my background. There's a business background and a political background, the military leadership I learned. And so I remember thinking, is there a time too early to call a CEO of a multi-million dollar company and say, "Hey, can I get a take back?" And I did just that. I called him at 7 a.m. and said, "Austin, can I get a take back? I actually am interested. Let's proceed with what this process looks like." And so proceed with that process. There's a national search and an interview process, and it obviously went well. Here I am. So that was my initial thought, and I just, really actually enjoy the public policy work we do. I would say it's about 30% of my job if I had to quantify it, but it's been really impactful, and I just have a really deep respect for associations because I have a really deep respect for America. I don't mean to sound cheesy about that, but if you look at Tocqueville, as far as what makes America America, he talks about those institutions and the institutions that are outside of government that help shape the democratic republic governance process and how impactful that is. Just one more thought on that. I apologize to be long-winded. Just last week, there was a Nobel Prize, a Peace Prize awarded to two authors of a book called Why Nations Fail. And the book goes around the world and it talks about places where there's the same people, it's genetic makeup, the same climate, but somehow radically different economic results, or community health. And you look at East Berlin, West Berlin, Nogales, US side, Nogales, Mexico side, North Korea, South Korea. And there's a couple of key takeaways in the book about what works and what doesn't work. But one of the things is that institutional strength leads to a healthier community and economy. And the chamber world is part of that institutional strength, clearly. And so I'm a romantic. I believe in our country. I believe in meaningful work, meaningful relationships. And so when I find myself in this job, I mean, this is the perfect job for what I believe and live and what I want to do. And looking at what I think makes an impact to the community, I think associations really do matter. And I think I'm at an association that has, is, and will matter in the future.
Well, I'm glad that Austin reached out to you. I'm glad that he took your immediate call back the next morning because we need people like you in the chamber world and having the unique background you do. I was going to ask about the percentage of lobbying time that you give in your current position, and I think you covered that with about a third of the time is kind of focused in that direction and the advocacy part. But I guess my question is how how can the chamber community in general how can we do a better job of relaying what it is that the chambers do for communities to strengthen and build communities? So when the next Dale Kooyenga's out there trying to be recruited for the next chamber executive seat, doesn't shoot it down because the work is being seen, it's being recognized, and it's not just that surface layer um, initial reaction, I guess. But do you have any thoughts of what the chamber community at large could do better to attract people with great backgrounds to the industry?
I think primarily telling the story I just told as far as the importance of institutions. I mean, another great book by Robert Putnam that I think it's now, gosh, 20 years old, but it's still very relevant, maybe older than that, is bullying alone and the propensity of individuals to go alone and be alone, as opposed to plugging into associations and institutions and groups like the Rotaries and the Legions and things like that. So I think it's that person that wants to press and push for a community. I also think it needs to be a doer. I see a lot of associations and chambers that uh, tell people what they do. I don't think they are as effective as showing people what they do. And what I mean by that is you can't have your meetings, you can't have your board members being given a show and talking about a topic. They want action. They want to see things shaped. They want to see state statutes eliminated, modified, or created. They want to see buildings going up. They want to see crime going down. They want to see relationships form that create tangible, substantive fruits for the community. So I see a lot of event heavy, conversation heavy associations and chambers. And my recommendation would be that's good, that's deliberative, that's healthy, but you gotta translate that into effective action that actually changes the landscape. Otherwise, you're just a bunch of talking heads without a radio show.
Yeah. I think that's a key point to be a doer, show that action. And I'd say from your perspective, before you came into the chamber world, your point of view of the doer, the action that the chamber was doing was as a lobbyist. So it makes sense that's what you would see, right?
Yeah, that was in my office. So that was the engagement. My value to the association was my ability to write and vote on laws. And so that was the face I saw. I was in the business community, but at my level of CFO in mid-tier size companies, I was not engaged. Maybe I should have been, but I was not engaged from a business level with the association like I should have been. So that was my perch. That's what I saw. And you see what you see from your perch. And so it's really good to see now all the different other aspects to what we do and why we do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a fascinating idea just to think about the perspectives that one comes into the chamber world. I love getting people's stories of how they found the chamber industry, how they were invited in. Some people, it's out of high school. Some it's after a very productive career. Some it's just by total accident, right? But being able to see how people are introduced, how they can take their skill set and be able to apply it to make an organization of action to be able to really drive things forward within their community is what I think that's what makes the chamber work so special. That's what makes it the industry such a special thing. Um, I'd like to always ask for chambers that are out there looking to take their chamber to the next level. You've given some great, action points already, but what kind of tip or action item might you share with listeners who are interested in taking their organization to the next level?
Um, I mean, have an engaged board that you could actually call upon to help with things. I mean, they're there for a reason. And so, don't be afraid to engage your board and have them be what we call in the military force multipliers. So that'd be the big thing. Would, I mean, you got to serve your members and what the members want. I think in this space, there's probably few memberships that are politically uniform in one direction. And so therefore, I would encourage a chamber of association to be mindful that if you look like you are a part of a political party, or just relationship wise on one side of the political party, you're probably going to minimize your ability to get things done. And now I say that because the nation's different, and I can't pretend or dive down into what your politics look like, where your chamber association is. I can tell you from Milwaukee, we are a purple state in Wisconsin. Milwaukee is blue, like most large metros. Our outer part of our region is more red. And so therefore we have, and we will, and to be most effective, we have very healthy relationships with both sides of the aisle. And I would say that our membership, and especially our board, is bipartisan, and probably increasingly no partisan that claim no party. And so we need to be in the relationship business. We can't be in the political ideology business. And we just need to know what's right for our community. And sometimes that falls in different parts of the political spectrum. But I mean, I'll just give you an example. Like last year, we had a really, really big win. The city and the county of Milwaukee were in a very tough financial position for reasons that was no fault of anybody that was in office or in power. These were decisions made decades ago related to pension issues. And the big compromise we made with both parties was Republicans wanted more police on the street, wanted more public safety. Democrats wanted additional revenue in the form of a sales tax and more shared revenue from the state. Both parties wanted more fiscal solvency, which meant freezing some pensions. It meant additional revenue. So, and without to go through the whole deal, but there was a compromise made on both sides that we put together. Um, and now the fiscal state of the county and the city are much, much better. They're not closing libraries. They are adding police to the street. They no longer have these infamous pension plans. So that's what I'm talking about. I mean, for us, I think you really don't be politically astute and make sure you're in the relationship business, not the political ideology business.
I think that's great advice. And your comments, resonate with being the sane center, when it comes to political issues. But I've heard it said that if you can resonate with what makes for a good, pro-business environment, if that's your members, that's what's, supporting organizations, the business members. When it comes to politics, if you're doing things that support business, that grow business, you have that to stand on, and doesn't have to be a political party at all. And oftentimes you'll find things on both sides of the aisle that support business. And if that's your mission to drive business, drive your local economy, you can't go wrong if that's your focus. But
Yep.
it builds relationships along the way. So
Agreed.
that's absolutely key. Um,
See, like for example, I could really be angry right now with you and like be hostile because you're clearly a 49ers fan and
yeah.
I'm a Packers fan, but I'm still going to be pleasant and polite and find common ground here. So
Yeah. And I'll forgive you
there's a
too.
perfect
So no.
example.
That's right. And you've got the American flag behind us. That makes it all better. So we're
There you go. That's exactly
we're
it.
on the same team.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good. Um, well, as we look to the future of chambers of commerce, how do you see the future of chambers and their purpose going forward?
Well, you need to fight for it. I don't think you can assume that there's some sort of inertia with membership, either growing your membership or retaining your membership, if you're just going to keep the same model that you had yesterday. There has to be value propositions within your, I mean, I know they say it's not transactional and you should do this for the good of the community. I think there'll be a good percentage of companies that believe that, but it's going to erode when a recession happens. I think you got to find your value proposition, whether directly or indirectly, and you got to have your why. Like, why do I need to be part of this? Why? And for us, it's Milwaukee without the Metropolitan Milwaukee Association of Commerce is a Milwaukee without the Milwaukee Brewers. It's a Milwaukee
Mm.
without the Milwaukee Bucks. It's a Milwaukee without a river that's being cleaned up that's going to return native species of fish and cleaning up chemicals from 100 years ago that are at the bottom of the river. It's a Milwaukee that has huge financial issues as opposed to Solvency Day. So our value proposition is imagine a Milwaukee without MAC, and you think, oh gosh, a Milwaukee without that is not a city I want to live in. It's not a city I can recruit talent to. So you got to get there. And I think non-dues revenue has to be part of your plan. For us, our non-dues revenue continues to grow and grow and grow. And we are hungry after growing that. Our health insurance plan in combination with United Healthcare has been very, very good for us. And that continues to grow. And not only is it good for our revenue, but it's clearly a solution to our members. And we actually offer it to non-members as well, which is why they're purchasing it. I mean, they wouldn't purchase it if it wasn't a value for them. So they're saving money. We're making money. It looks like we're going to go to market with some other innovative things revolving around maybe 401ks to help reduce costs and give access to some of the HR tools that larger companies would have. So it's a twofer, but I think you really need to focus on a stream for that non-dues revenue to diversify your revenue streams because I'm just leery that the philanthropy and the community involvement will be as strong as it has been in years past in America.
Well, I think in that explanation, you just gave what the new tagline or slogan for the Milwaukee, MMAC should be. Think of Milwaukee without the Bucks, without the Brewers. Yeah, that's what we do, right?
Yeah, and this is very specific to Milwaukee. And I know, and I'll just give it, I mean, it means a lot to us, a whole lot to us. But the biggest one is imagine a Milwaukee without, and I can name it doesn't mean anything to you, but without a St. Marcus, without a Milwaukee Academy of Sciences, without an Aug Prep. And what those schools represent, I just said, is they represent very high performing schools that are in parts of Milwaukee with high poverty. And one of the things I think my predecessor, if I had to choose one accomplishment to put on his marker someday, say this is what Tim Sheehy accomplished, is Tim Sheehy alongside a former superintendent of Milwaukee Public Schools here in 1991 said this is not working. We need to try something radically different, and that's where the concept of school of choice came from. And now you see the concept of school of choice growing nationally. And they came out of Milwaukee. It came out of MMAC in our relationship with a gentleman named Howard Fuller. And now that has grown not only in Wisconsin, but it's grown to a national concept that parents should be able to decide where to send their kids based on your academic standards and based on your principles, whether that be rooted in religion or ethics, whatever that is. And so that's the big bold change. And I think, you know, chambers and associations do need to take some risk. I mean, you can't just always put your weight on a topic that you have 100% agreement on, because if you have 100% agreement on it, you're probably not getting after a social injustice. You're probably not getting after an issue in your community because there are people and sometimes institutions that are rooted in social injustices, and you need to get after that. So I would also argue, as I talk about, being smart and being pragmatic, that doesn't mean that you're always safe. And in the long run, I think you'll be rewarded for taking some risk and taking some big issues head on.
I agree. I think that was very well said. Well, Dale, as we wrap things up, I wanted to give you a chance to share any contact information for listeners who may want to reach out and connect with you and learn more about how you guys are doing things and taking care of business there in Milwaukee. What would be the best way for someone to reach out and connect?
LinkedIn. Send me a LinkedIn message. Dale, and his last name's Kooyenga, and I am the only Dale Kooyenga in the world. So you will not be confused with another Dale Kooyenga.
That's good. We'll get a link to your LinkedIn account in our show notes for this episode too, to make it nice and easy, and they don't need to worry about spelling if they're in the car driving or whatever they're doing.
Sounds good.
But Dale, it's been great having you on the show. I appreciate you taking some time to be with us and share some of the impact and your perspective as you entered the chamber world and how chambers can make a bigger impact in their communities. I really appreciate you sharing your insights with us today.
Thanks, Brandon. Thanks for having me.
If you are a chamber professional, please subscribe to Chamber Chat Podcast in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. When you subscribe to Chamber Chat Podcast, new episodes will show up in your podcast app each week as they are released. If you're finding value in this podcast, please leave us a rating and a review in iTunes. But most importantly, please share Chamber Chat Podcast with your colleagues that are in the industry.